Yeah, I mean, I had checked my email recently, but we'll go ahead, get started, the place in session. Thanks everyone for coming out. As usual, first we'll start with the agenda setting. We'll look at that and make sure it looks all right to you, nothing to add.
Extra copies.
That's pretty good to me. Second to that would be checking out the draft minutes from, these are from both the January meeting and the special called meeting. Yeah. Yeah, some.
Well, hey.
Hey,
Well, hey.
cheese and crackers. Everybody, there we go.
I got my coffee.
Yeah, we were just reviewing the minutes.
Okay.
Although I jumped ahead on the agenda setting, so we do have a couple of three different things going on with visitors tonight. If someone wants to alter the order of things.
Well, do y'all want to sit through a long meeting, or would you like to see what really goes on?
Yeah, right.
I make a motion to adjust the agenda.
Okay, and to fit our two.
Yes.
To cater to our guests that
Yes,
are
uh-huh.
here. Okay.
Yeah, we can fit all that under the
Okay.
heading. So we have a motion, we have a second to alter the agenda for that reason. We do have a second, all in favor? That's unanimous, so we'll move these folks out for that, so.
You mean we don't want to torture them?
Through all of this fun stuff. You are forced to do the minutes and the, these things at the front. I don't know why it was made that way, but that doesn't usually take too long.
You in charge of the website now?
Mhm.
You are, so the pictures and all that stuff, everything?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Paul does our Facebook, though, so if you have stuff that fits each.
Shut that too.
Under item 4, on the second sentence, it says the town was first formed in 1933, but after the mill fire, the townspeople dispersed and the charter lapsed. But the town, I thought, was chartered when the mill burned, and I thought that was in 1928.
It was,
Let me take that whole sentence out.
Yeah, I'd like for it to be checked on, because I don't think it's quite right, so,
For now, we'll just take that.
yeah.
It's not needed
Okay.
anyway.
But it would be nice to check on it, because I
Well-
thought the mill burned right before the Depression.
for the record, the town of High Shoals,
Right.
forget the north, High Shoals,
Was,
formed, then the mill burned, then they let their charter lapse.
right.
Then in 1933,
It was
North High Shoals went to the Senate, the state legislature,
okay.
was established, but no one acted on it. So it just sat there until 1968, when the
Right,
locals
okay.
got together
All right.
and
So
started things.
it is, so we need after the mill fire. It almost looks like the town was first formed, but it was, just leave it. Leave that sentence out and let's make
Yeah,
it
let's
a little
leave
bit
it.
more correct,
Okay.
okay? Yeah. I move to accept the minutes with the correction that those two paragraphs, those two sentences be left out in item number 4.
We have a motion to accept with one amendment, edits. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? All in favor? That's unanimous, so we'll accept the minutes with the one mentioned edit. The special, or rather called meeting minutes.
Let me just note for the record that I was planning on attending, and that I thought that for some reason that it was at our usual time of 7:30, so I was walking down the hill and I was like, oh, where is everybody? And I called Jason, he's like, oh, we did it, we already had our meeting, so, you know, I was like, dang.
You know, actually, somebody may have said, should we call him? I thought, well, no, you know, even if he thinks it's 7:30,
Sure.
we'll still be here, but of
Right,
course we were
right,
not.
yeah.
Sorry.
Quick
But yeah, all you
meeting.
missed was the
Yeah.
reading of the bid, so, I mean, rather the names and the bids of the firm's bidding.
I motion to accept the minutes of the special council meeting in February.
We do have that motion, do we have a second?
Second.
There's a second, all in favor? That's unanimous with one abstention accepted. Next, we'll look at our financial statement. Anything of note, Carolyn?
Yep. Here's all the bank statements, if anybody wants to see them, but
Where are the, just for my own edification, the camera and things like that, software?
supplies,
Supplies. Okay.
I mean, equipment.
Office equipment, I got you, okay. And software and everything goes under that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Carolyn, under furnishings,
Right.
what have, is that the computer?
That's the lights.
The lights,
Mhm.
okay, that's what.
And
the
then we were
lights,
going to
yeah.
amend the budget to reflect that under possibly street lights at some point.
Eventually, yeah.
And I would motion to put that on the agenda for next month, because every time I see that, it just throws me off having it under furnishings. I know that we can wait until the end of the budget period, but I'd like to go ahead and like at least move it from furnishings, because we had set aside the furnishings for our new town hall, and to see that big number already taken away from that. I mean, I don't know the whole process that needs to be involved in that, but
We have to do a resolution.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yes,
So,
we can do that next month.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then in office equipment from the computers and stuff, what was the extra stuff? I guess,
The office equipment was the, computer, the printer, the
Software.
camera.
We have
the
no camera.
software.
The one we're
Oh,
using
new
was,
camera, okay.
so
Okay.
I'll run through that later on. Yeah.
And where are we gonna put the downstairs, the basement? In here?
Paid for that out of,
Property
supplies.
maintenance, or,
Huh?
oh, that was plus.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Plus,
Oh, so
town
it
halls.
has in the spot, okay.
And at some point other than this, I'm assuming that we'll discuss the work that was performed and the cost of that. Yeah.
And we already received the LMIG money Is that what that's saying? And that's, so it's on the,
The elementary, yes, it's already received and put in the mutual.
When do we
Money
have-
market.
When do we have to, how long do we have to spend that?
I think we can roll it over. I think you can roll it over for 2 years or maybe even 3 years if you have if you're trying to do a bigger project.
But our plan is to do it in March or, like, as soon as they can get to the paving project.
Yeah,
right?
you were gonna get in touch with
Right.
them after you
Yeah.
talked to the neighbors.
I've spoken to them, and they've said that they're, waiting on the weather to get a little bit warmer, and then they'll be ready to move forward with the project, so.
I make a motion to accept the financial minutes from the last meeting.
We have a motion to accept as presented. Do you have a second?
second.
We do have a second. All in favor? That's unanimous. Financial information accepted. As is. I think most of our
I
guests.
just have a correction to that. It's
Sorry,
not
go ahead.
the last
Oh, sorry.
meeting, it's last month,
Oh,
just for the record.
gotcha. All right. I think everyone here has a purpose. Anyone have a comment on anything other than what you're specifically visiting for? It's a chance for citizens to stand up at this point and comment. I didn't think so, but I thought I'd check, so. Okay, we can jump right into our visitors' official purposes. I would think the business licenses would be the quickest, followed by the Eagle Scout project. Does that sound right to everyone?
Sure.
Okay, how about, is it Regan?
It is, Reagan.
Reagan, sorry. You want to stand up and tell us a little bit about what you've got going on? And
Yeah, we have, my family and I moved here in November. I have 2 daughters, one is 14, one is 9. My wife passed away a couple of years ago, November 2 years ago, and I have a son who lives here. He and his wife have been in this area about 15 years. And they have a 3-year-old, which is my grandson. So we have relocated to this area. And my background is in pest control. Been in pest control about 15 years, also by vocational minister, pastor. So I've always worked for other companies in South Georgia, where we were from and back. So when we made the move here, we wanted to be a home company, give myself some flexibility for my girls, to be with them. And I've already gone through all the state certifications. I'm actually certified in 3 different categories: household pest control, wood destroying organisms, and mosquito control. I already have the state company license in place. So everything is in place for me, with the exception of the business license, local business license. So it will be primarily just myself, a 1-person operation. I'll have 1 service vehicle, and that's about the gist of it. So,
okay, so you're doing paperwork at home, but obviously all of your work is.
yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be
on
all
site.
in the several counties, surrounding counties.
Okay.
Will you have many UPS deliveries?
Very few.
Okay.
Maybe 1 a month.
Okay,
Nice.
that's important for the neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Won't be a lot of traffic, no one coming in and out, and so forth. So that's kind
Everyone
of
get excited us. Okay.
Do you have plans to expand in the future, like hire employees and make it a larger business? Or is it just up in the air, you're working it through it as it goes?
It's a work in progress right
Yeah.
now. Really want to keep it as simple as I possibly can, just for the sake of my family situation right now.
Sure.
Of course, if it grows rapidly, that would have to be, I'll have to look at that when the time comes. I really don't expect it to be beyond, in the future, 4 to 6 employees maybe. And if it gets to that point, then obviously, I'll need a larger location somewhere.
Yeah,
else.
and you couldn't have 4
Yeah,
to 6
can't do that.
employees, because this is a home occupation.
But right now, my goal is not to try to build a big business. It's, I want to stay very family oriented, finding customers who just have a need that I can fit, and folks I can take care of in a good way.
Now, I just wanted to make certain that since it's in home occupation, that you really can't have that
Yeah,
many
it'll be-
people. And we've already had a big problem
Right.
there before, so we don't want that to, I want to make it clear that that's important.
I understand. It'd be just myself as long as I'm in this location.
Have you printed out any business cards yet?
I simply do. Right here.
All right, thanks, sir. Thank you.
And I can leave a few others there.
Yeah, great.
There's some information on the card. There's also a website indicated on the business card that does give a brief biographical sketch about myself, like I just mentioned, our company vision and motto. Basically, I want to put forth the truth that I want to be a person that people can trust, give them services they can depend on. And a zero pest guarantee. If you have a problem at all, you're going to take care of it. So, but you can go to the website and get a brief overview. It's just a single page of how I am, how I operate, and what my vision for business is.
Any other questions for Mr. Reagan? A motion.
I would motion to approve Terry Reagan to have a owner-operator business license out of High Shoals.
You have a motion to approve the application? Second? All in favor? That is unanimous.
Welcome, Natural.
We love it here, really do love the community and neighborhood. Of course, I do have one question. You'll notice on the business card, the address is Bishop.
Oh, yeah.
That has confused me since I've been here. We're in High Shoals.
Confuses everybody.
Right.
Bishop.
Yeah, right, that's the business.
Post office,
Yeah.
So we're okay with that, right?
Yeah, that's the way. it
Yeah,
works.
you're gonna run into that, especially with certain delivery services. Some are fine with it, they've worked it out, others, they won't deliver to you. You'll have to, if you have a relative living close by, you have to have it delivered there and go pick it up. It's the silliest thing. But yeah, we all deal with it. It's the rural route. If you have mail delivered to your house, it's a Bishop rural route. Or you can get a P.O. box right here, and that would be a High Shoals, not even a North High Shoals, but a High Shoals address. So,
Well, I've enjoyed the interaction. I've enjoyed the website, been on the website, browsing with at the history, and I'm looking forward to learning more.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, thanks for bringing your cards.
Appreciate it. And I need to give you some money.
Yeah.
Would you like that? North High Shoals?
All right, next up would be Walkinsville Road Runners Errand Service, Limited Liability Corporation.
And I do have these in your folder, in your folders.
And I'm scanning for Stephen Archie. Stephen, hey, come on up and tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
All right. My wife and I have been in Oconee now for 13 years. We moved to Hickory Lake, here off of Elder Road, approaching 3 years. I've been in the corporate world, telecom industry for about 25 years. But something that's been on my heart for quite a while is just pouring into the community, helping people. This errand service has been something I've had in my mind, wanted to do for quite a while. It just wasn't the right time, but I feel like now's the time to do it. Just start simple. Gonna be myself only. Will be no traffic. I'm having my home office, but no traffic. Just going out to clients, running errands. Going to the bank, going to the post office. There'll be some senior companionship, running errands for seniors, but it's really pouring into families all around, but also focus on seniors. I really have a heart for them.
That's good.
But mail or stuff like UPS, all that stuff, there's no really supplies I need. Really, it's just getting calls. Right now, it's going to be more word of mouth. I do have some business cards I just got delivered today, so that's great. And yeah, that's about it. Just really, we really, as we've been part of a church in the community and sporting activities, we just hear a lot of people saying, "Hey, I'm so stressed. There's just so much to do.
Sure.
Wish I had enough time to do it." So we're just trying to relieve stress. Just really help people have some peace in their life and be able to enhance their lives, but they can focus on more important things than just, these errands.
Right.
Uh,
What is your business model? Do you charge by the hour or the mile or the job? Or?
It could depend. There's gonna be like, 20 to 25 an hour is kind of the typical, what I've researched, especially with the quality, the life here. So yeah, about 20 to 25 an hour, but it could be on a per job basis also. Pet sitting can be a little bit different, or house sitting. Depends on the service.
Right.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you thought about joining the chamber too and getting some?
I have looked at that. Talking to my CPA right now, we're just really wanting to start simple, but that is definitely my plans. Maybe later this year or going into next year, definitely contacting the chamber to become a member. I think that'd be great to network and get to know people.
I like the idea how you're gonna help, like, seniors, like a companion and.
Yeah, I was talking to Carolyn today, my grandmother's been on, she's someone who's really important in my life, and that really instilled a lot of compassion for seniors. And I think there's a lot of seniors out there that's lonely and could really use help. And so,
Just taking them to the park or?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Doing some
Just an hour here or there, just to be able to hang out with them.
There's a will on the council to do something for, quote, the elderly.
Yeah.
Or lots of things, really, if we can come up with ideas and plans that, it's a small town, not a lot of money, but
Yeah.
I would love it if you keep your ears open.
Yeah,
And if
sure.
things come up or occur to you, or people you hear them mention over and over, they wish they had this, that, or the other, it's something we could get into. We'd love to hear it.
All right, sounds good.
Any other questions for Mr. Archie?
I make the motion to accept the Watkinsville Roadrunners Errand Service Business Occupational Tax application.
We do have a motion to grant this, or approve this application. We have a second? We do have a second. All in favor? That is unanimous.
All right, thank you
Welcome
so much.
to
I
the
do-
business community.
Business cards, it's got some services on the back.
Good.
So,
We're gonna have to have like a local business.
Right, yeah.
like bulletin where we can start attending this, it's great. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much. Appreciate it.
Are you Mercury?
What's that?
Mercury? You're gonna fly like Mercury?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be very efficient.
Think about the other question I have.
I've been trying to talk to me.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Logo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what I said.
Where's that at? I didn't see it. Okay, the Mercury thing, I did.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so next up would be our Eagle Scout project. So we're all familiar with what's going on here, I believe, right? Everyone remember what this is all about?
Yeah.
We've kicked around occasionally a few ideas amongst us, but we never did come to a conclusion of, we definitely want to do this. We don't even have a top three, frankly. Do you have a project in mind? Did you have something you wanted to?
So, the kind of two things that I wanted to establish here is, one, I have an idea or two about a project,
Okay.
and I would like to have a contact that is part of the city council that I can reference to and talk to them about different project ideas and kind of work alongside with, and someone who can also sign off on my paperwork for BSA and the council saying that I did the project and this is what the project is.
Okay.
As far as ideas for the project, things like making trail signs or remarking trails,
Actually,
things
that
like
was
that would
one
be a
thing
good
we
idea.
discussed.
The building of the bridges is something I just heard of, and I have an interest in that. I have to think through what the process of doing that would be,
Mhm.
but it is an idea
Okay.
that I do like.
When that came up, it kind of goes hand in hand with probably the need to redesign the trails a bit. We didn't actually have any professional trail designers come in and put these things in place. It was basically just volunteers. And so, you know, they could be better. I don't want to knock any, you know, the folks who did it. It's wonderful and it was volunteer work. But you would first have to probably decide to best reroute the trail to get it to the best spot for a bridge. So that would be part of that sort of project. I didn't know if you
Okay.
considered that part of it.
Okay.
That would be a good project. Doing the
So, yeah, that's absolutely, yeah, we had actually discussed
That was the
that.
signage, yeah.
with signage for the trails.
Yeah.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Bridge. Anybody else have any things? I know we've mentioned the fire pit earlier.
Yeah. The fire pit's my favorite, but, you know, I'll go with the trails and the bridge, but I really like the fire pit, yeah.
Anything else from anyone?
Well,
When do you need to know?
The goal is to have the project done at the end of summer,
Okay.
and for that to happen, I would have to have a sort of set in stone idea of what I'm gonna do, and be able to act upon that around May, I believe, right when school gets out, so that way I have the idea and I can start working on it over the summer.
well, now would be a good time to go look at the trails before the
Yes.
vegetation comes out and to see what, where.
Yeah, you may want to look at it
best to go.
before you commit yourself to,
Yeah.
Right.
to that
To
particular
that,
project.
Yeah.
I walked the entire park back before the last time I came.
Sure.
And of course, things have probably and definitely have happened since then, so I do have it in my plans to go and walk that again to see what changed and what I can do.
Okay.
And
Who among us would like to be the contact to go to for this? Yeah, okay.
I'm a tough.
Okay. So, yeah, you'll work with violence if that works for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess our next steps would be for you two to get
We
together
could walk the,
and check it
the
out.
trails
Mhm.
slowly, but I
Yeah.
can.
So a couple things.
Mhm.
So are we referring to the trails that are in the woods, what we would consider in the woods back there?
Right.
And that's fine. So those are the ones that we did. The bridge,
There are some places that go fairly steep down and back up,
Right.
and it would be better for us older people if it was a bridge there to cross over, because when it rains, it gets pretty mucky,
Mhm.
and you slide down and
There's actually an
slide down
established
again when you're
gully
going up.
at one point where the trail goes across it,
Yeah,
circles around and comes back across it. Although the two current crossings, that's what I was talking about a minute ago, are not the best crossings. They were the easiest crossings with no bridge. So if you're thinking of bridge, you may want to shift the whole trail
right.
crossings,
That's
one or
where it
both,
would be
two
nice
different
to look at.
spots.
so bridges are fine. We've done construction things in the past. What sometimes can hold up projects like that is, you know, they need to be well made. They need to have handrails. You know, they're tricky.
Yeah, oh no, I agree
So-
with that.
so,
There are
you know,
regulations that need to be
Right,
followed.
exactly. And so I don't want him to commit to something
Get
that
too
he
long.
might not understand at the
Yeah.
moment.
Well,
So
the best thing would be.
We're only
to
spanning
check out-
35 feet.
12 feet deep and 35 feet.
Yeah.
Well, we've done a previous project with a lot of hole
Right.
digging.
Ooh.
We
Right.
we want to stay away from
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's understandable.
So and that's so if he could and you volunteered, which is fine. So I'd like to reiterate on the just his part and Scout's part. It's a short-term project that he and a small group of other scouts can complete in a kind of with actually working, you know, a couple of weeks, you know, type of project.
right.
And marking trails is something that fits in that category, and with possible inclusion of a bridge.
Yeah, that may
But it
not
had to be something to look at. So it's really a matter of if you know, if you can be the one who says yes, this is an appropriate project that the city wants, even if you have to go back to them, you know. But as long as he can just work through one person,
Yeah, absolutely.
and on a regular basis by email. Email's best. That way we can.
Well, You'll have to call me.
Okay. Well, okay, so, and that,
And text.
it's okay, but email's better because it allows us to keep a record
Well,
of
texting.
communication between.
Texting
Yeah,
is
I
too.
bet if you could go to Carolyn's account, is that fine with you?
Yes.
You can keep a special file, and then she can, print off or get the information, follow up with a phone call, just to say, I've sent this email, here the summary of it, but, does that
I'll be
work?
glad to.
Okay.
And also, at Fort Yargo, the Boy Scouts have built a little bridge.
Mhm.
Yeah, so maybe there's some plans with the
Oh,
Boy
sure,
Scouts or something.
plans are done.
There
Yeah, we
is a
can-
bridge in there if you want to go look at it.
We can get plans and things. All right.
We don't have to go through the state level since it's on
Okay.
our property.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just make sure you let us know if it does fit within your parameters.
Yeah.
We definitely don't wanna, make you build a whole town or something.
What do you have in mind, like a second backup plan? It's just not gonna work, it's gonna be too much fire pit? I'm on board with that. What does everybody else think? Is that, and of course, the project man himself.
I would
Is
think
that
that would work, yes.
Yeah. And of course, play it by ear when you're out there and just something out of the blue appears to you full of, authority to.
Yeah.
Well,
I have a background in field ecology and I'm also,
Bridge builder.
Yeah. Built roads, yeah, done that sort of thing. And in assessment.
So, Violet, if you want to make sure he has your contact information,
And
I
the
guess,
email.
and the email, the best email for you. Unless you have
But the
anything
quickest
else, I
way to
guess
get
we're
me
good to.
is to text me. or call.
I think that should be good.
Yeah,
All right.
awesome. Thank you very much. And again,
Thank you.
we appreciate you coming to us. We're excited about
Yeah.
this.
Project like that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And if you'll call me and give me a time,
Phone
we can
number.
go out and walk it together. Yeah.
Everybody has a
Yeah.
Here's his file.
Thank you.
MC caller.
That's 7-1. Make it a little clearer. Okay?
Thank you.
Is it call and text?
For
That
the
same-
recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
And you've got my email as well, so feel free to
Yes.
copy me on all this, and I can
Why
keep
don't
up,
you
just in case
write your name
third
and-
file, if that, so.
Why don't you write your name and
Wanna do that?
telephone number here? Okay? Yeah, my job in NRCS was environmental assessments.
It'll be best to contact me through the email.
Well, we'll work that.
You'll have a hard time. Since I cannot use the computer with my eyes. There are other means of communication in this world, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you.
Thanks
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Want to take a quick break and get a cracker? Glass of water.
Some cheese.
Oh, goodness, how neat.
Mark, how did you want
Yeah,
to handle this?
nice.
We can talk about what we've got and then
All right.
what the next steps are.
Sounds about right.
mind the way?
No, you're perfect, on that corner right there is perfect.
Okay. We got the proposals in, and I guess if you were here for the actual reading, so the first day of this month, we received 8 proposals, which that is a very good thing. There are a lot of municipalities that have done projects with very large budgets that wish they could have received 8 proposals. And not only did you receive 8 proposals, but the bottom half, if you will, were all within 5%, which is another very good indicator. That tells me as an engineer that the people that presented those proposals is very competitive, and that there is a desire, at least among that bottom half, to pursue this project. I will say that after that, the next 2 were relatively close to one another, but those top 2 numbers, if you're looking at a list, are the highest number is about almost 50% higher than the lowest number. So those did start to stretch out towards the upper end. But of those 8, they're all Georgia companies. So while there may have been, I don't know if you recall, at the last meeting, there were over 20 people who had actually requested those proposal packages. I think that final number was around 22. So there were a lot of people that requested, but there were, of the 8 that responded, again, I think that's very positive. The next question is, where to go from here. My files show that we actually started working on this project in 2014.
You don't say that.
So this has been a long time coming. I think that's something that this town knows and this council knows. So getting these proposals in is a very big accomplishment. That is a big step towards moving. But then, what is the next step forward? So I have talked to Joe Reitman on more than one occasion. I talked to him again today to make sure that we continue to follow that procedure. I sent him copies of everything that we sent out, not just to one offerer or one construction company, but to all the companies. They were detailed plans. There's much more detail in the architectural plans than there were in the site plans. There were questions. There were lists of questions. Again, like we talked about at last council meeting, the majority of those questions were, again, related to the architectural plans. Some of those questions were scary because you wondered, did the people read these plans? Right. If someone asked, does an ice machine need water to go to it? That's how ice machines work. So, but of the 8, you have an option. You can proceed however you would like to proceed. But based on my conversation with Joe Reitman, you have every authority to choose tonight, if you so do so, to move forward with just one offer. To move forward at this point, you've met all the other obligations to move forward with that one offer. If you have questions about the proposals, we can certainly go through those. If you say that you're not ready to go through or forward with that one, then you can make a decision on how many to go forward with. I will make a recommendation. Do not go forward with all 8 offers. That is not an efficient use of the town's time, not an efficient use of their resources on this project. I think if you look at this list, you can probably have an idea of some that it would not be in the town's best interest to move forward, just based on your budget, just based on some other things to move forward with at this time.
My question is, when I opened one of the bids, it said did not include like electrical and that sort of thing, so how can you compare that bid with the others that may have included the electrical? That was my concern.
That's a very good point. And so there were,
apples to apples.
let me give you an idea, just if the numbers you're looking at, David and I talked about some of these as well. If you look, so a Peachtree would have had a number, I want to just round it off for the purpose of approximately $525,000. Caliber 1 had a number of about $532,000, but Caliber 1 specifically said that number did not include
Right, that's
few
when
items.
I opened, yeah.
Right.
and
So if you add those additional items that were in the clarified numbers from those additional RFIs, Caliber One's number goes from approximately 532,000 to approximately 547,000.
Okay, that's what I thought, just looking at it just briefly that day. So that's what we need help on, to see if they're apples to apples, if everything's included. And that's my concern. I don't want to choose something tonight when I don't know that, are they all equal bids? Do they have everything in them? Each one have everything?
Well, and the
in
good
them?
thing is, in the proposals, we did have line items right down. Now, there were some things that they said bid does not include,
Right.
again, X, whatever they chose not to include, or some additional allowances or items for. But there were a specific
Right.
number of things in which you can, in some ways, compare those apples to apples. David and I talked about that. I've actually got a spreadsheet on that that shows some breakdowns across tabs, but then of the bottom three, if you will, an exact side-by-side comparison with the caveat, blue, green, red, which was probably maybe third on your list, they specifically said does not include fire alarm, and did not provide an additional budget number, if you will, for that. So their number was in approximately 541,000, but that did not include a fire alarm.
And we have to have a fire alarm, right? Since we
They
are
had
a
specified
public-
that on this plan.
Yeah, we're a public building.
I
Yeah.
would, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the appropriate time for me to make a comment or not, but, so I did just a brief little bit of research on each one of these companies and tried to figure out, like, where's this company from? What part of Georgia are they from? Like, do they have a website? If they have a website, what is their page like? Do they have a Facebook page? I mean, nowadays, it's good to have word of mouth people that have good word of mouth, but a lot of things are done over the internet as well. And so when I haven't heard of these companies necessarily myself, I'm going to look at the web and kind of see what they have done on the web. And so basically all I did was put together the same sort of Excel sheet. And if you had an Excel sheet that you also put together, I'd be happy to look at some of the other, like, to kind of figure out what are the other factors that we need to put into our considerations when we're looking at these companies. Basically, the only things that I have is the company name, the bid amount, where it's located, their website link, their Facebook page link, and then like notes from their website, like what is their particular expertise in building. So like I'll print off a couple of copies just so you might have a little bit. This doesn't have a it's not a very detailed spreadsheet at all at this point, but it was just something.
Mark, do you have any, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but do you have any personal experience with any of these companies yourself?
I have heard of most of them. Some of the ones I've had the most recent experience with are not in that lower category. So the ones that I probably have the most experience with, I would not necessarily say are appropriate based on the proposals that they submitted for this particular project.
So from the websites themselves, it looked like the two that dealt a lot in government and municipal buildings were Spratman and Sons, which was the number 5 bid, and then Peachtree Construction Services also have performed government buildings. From their website, it looks like they have done some of that. Caliber One is mostly commercial, and then Blue, Green, and Red, who's in Athens, is mainly residential. RG Williams is commercial and retail, but at that 50% like hike in price, it doesn't seem like it would be. They would have to have some justification for us to charge that, to allow them to charge that much more. But that's just my initial things, and yeah, I don't know. So other than these sorts of like basic criterion, what other things should we be looking at to pick the contractor?
So one of the things I would look at is the exact same things you look at, Paul, and it would be that relevant experience. So if you think just on a very personal level, if you're going to have somebody do a task for you, now whether that task is to build you a home or whether that task is to fix your car, the first thing you want to think about is, have they done this before? Because most of us
Yeah.
don't want to be the guinea pig. Right? We don't want to. And so that would be,
Brain operation.
relevant experience would be where I would think you would go with that. And Paul's broken that down as well, just very briefly on that right column. If someone has relevant experience in this type of construction, then that is certainly to their benefit. I know David's plans are very straightforward and very easy to read, and someone who has residential experience may very well be capable of constructing this particular structure. But if a company doesn't have the relevant experience that the town's looking for, that may be part of the consideration for their proposal.
So do we go about finding out where they have built things and asking the people who they built it for, how they like the building and that sort of thing?
Right, so if what I'm hearing tonight is you're not quite ready to finalize and just say we're going to move forward with just one, maybe just Peachtree. If you said that, hey, we would like to, my recommendation would be to look at the three that are on the lower end, which would be Peachtree, Caliber 1, and Blue, Green, Red, and to specifically ask for two things: relevant experience and then those references, and to physically have conversations with those references about the details of an individual project. Not, this is a great guy, I love, Robert or Jim or whoever it might be. It is specific details of, were projects delivered on schedule, were projects delivered on budget. And there's some projects where there may have been a change order for an additional cost, but it was justified. There's a lot of projects I've seen where somebody may have said, hey, we were building a library, and there was a change order for another $25,000, but if you talk to the library people, they say, we loved it. We got all these extra things for that change order. It was great. And so that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have negative connotations, but you don't know that unless you have a conversation.
So if we were to pick one move ahead, would we look for the same things, or is it?
You would.
Okay.
You would.
I like that idea of like narrowing the field and like trying to do it as quickly as possible because of the time frame that we have spent on this project. I would just from the little bit of research I did, I would say that as far as fit, like in the way that the company's website looked, Spratland and Sons, even though they're at one of the higher ends, they're $70,000 more than Peachtree Construction, which does stand out as a low bid, but they also have done government and institutional buildings in the past. Just those two, as far as websites go, match our projects more so than other ones. But I'm not discounting any of the other ones. Just to say that, if we do narrow it down to like, let's keep 4 of them. It's hard for me to say anything about Cook Construction. I couldn't find. There's so many Cooks, and it wasn't really specific. Maybe you all have a better idea of who it was, but. And then the other consideration was with the Caliper 1, even though they are on the low side of $532, they do have that increased price whenever they add that other, so it makes it to $547. So at that point, you're only talking about 5% 5% to 10% difference between the top and the bottom 5. So other than or 5 or 6, I guess. But anyway, that's my small take on it. But.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to make a decision tonight on any one of these, but I definitely want to have something within, is the next 2 weeks reasonable for everybody?
Yeah.
To definitely say this is the one we
need to
want.
meet, yeah, well.
I keep hearing you talk about narrow it down, but don't we just want to narrow it down to one?
Well, why can't we narrow it down to 4 today? We could, if we really want to, we could take out Cook Construction and do the top 4.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and 5, and then out of those 4, we could pick one.
And would it be appropriate for us at this point to talk to the contractors and say, hey, these are the bids that came in, and here's where you stand, and can you explain why you're higher priced or lower priced, or like how do we sparse out, the discrepancy between, are they gonna come at us with 10 different change orders because we want door locks instead of doorknobs, or whatever, what I mean.
We've got to be a little bit careful on that, just because of from a competitive bid standpoint, we can't say, all right, this is the low bid. If you can match it, then it's yours. That's we've got to maybe. I think the thought process of evaluating them on something other than the proposal, as far as what that value would be, and then making a decision on. Again, there may be times where it is worth more to the town and to the council to spend those additional resources, and there may be opportunities that these companies could say, well, I can reduce if, and I don't want to speculate too much, but if X, then I can reduce a percentage out of my price depending on what that might be. These numbers are, they are publicly available now, but we've got to be a little bit careful with just trying to drill down too much. But yeah, there's certainly, and I agree, Spratland had by far the best website out of all 8 companies, even companies that were several $100,000 more. I did notice it was a little interesting to me on the Peachtree is they've got a Vinings or Atlanta office, but their documentation actually said Tequila on it, which is
closer,
certainly much closer here. But I think if moving forward with a smaller number, and then asking essentially the same questions of those, and then based on the answers from a professional standpoint, because they are the plans that that we've created, and then also from a council standpoint on that administrative side to say, okay, here's the way that we want to move forward based on this information that's now been provided, because if somebody's got zero experience, or if you find out there's a project where, hey, there were headaches, and in the contractor world, there's an idea of low end and high out, meaning, I have the lowest bid, but then I can create the change orders, and it can blow up a budget and be way out of line. That may help make, the council make a decision as well.
And can I say something? Morgan retired as building inspector for Gwinnett County, and now he's building inspector for Walton County, and of course here, and he may be familiar with some of these companies' work. Maybe he could be asked.
Yeah, I like the idea of narrowing it down too. Now, if I could ask, what's the process or the timeline of narrowing it down? I mean, I'd kind of like the next meeting be able to vote and end it. So I'd probably need a special meeting if we could do all that in 2 weeks, and then come back in 2 weeks. Is that doable? Something like that?
Yeah, I think as far as that becomes putting the onus on that company. Right, so I think that's another test as well. Just if you say, can you provide relevant experience and can you provide references, and it takes them 2 weeks to do that, that's not a good sign. If it takes them 2 days to do that, then that's certainly something that you would expect.
Is there anything that threw out a red flag to either of you about the process? We know nothing. We just know the numbers and the name. So I didn't know if there was anything that stuck out at you to say, well, that just didn't settle right with me, or ignore that, besides the price.
No, just some of the questions may have, but I was probably expecting there to be a number that excluded half the set of plans and was obscenely low, and that wasn't really the case. I did appreciate the ones that were very specific about what they excluded, and then even saying we excluded this, but it would be this much more. To me, that really showed, again, that aggressive desire to pursue the job. So there were really red flags where I would say, no matter what, you've got to eliminate this one particular offer.
Well, you said you'd made a spreadsheet comparing all this?
I've got a couple different, I'm a spreadsheet guy, but I've got a couple different spreadsheets. But I do specifically have one that I had gone into a little bit greater side-by-side comparison or detail of looking at the bottom 3. Even within that, there's a lot of different ways. You can see somebody would be lower, and then on mobilization have a much higher number. So sometimes there's still, within so many categories, there's different ways to
But is
handle
there
those
any way
numbers.
that we could look at that? Because that would help me, because all we did was open the bids and I didn't look at specifics on them.
Well, that's what we're doing next.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and we had a spreadsheet to look at the.
Oh, if somebody already summarized all that for you.
Yeah.
Next,
What
next.
are the things that you included in your spreadsheets?
Well, and I'll give an example because it was basically from the proposals themselves. And I apologize, I didn't have extra copies of the spreadsheet with me, but nothing. So within each proposal, there were line items: clearing and grubbing, installation of erosion control and tree save, site grading, all the ways down to masonry, metals, woods, doors and windows, and a line item by line item. I just want to show it to you, Paul, because you're sitting here, but a line item by line item comparison of these, and we could do that for an additional 4. I've already got it, it's just a matter, and then email it out or have Carolyn print something out so that you could see, okay, here's what it is, and then see if there's, a number that you have additional questions
Look
about
at
that you
that
want
and
to
then
see,
get
ask for
references.
clarification on.
Yeah, that would help me to look at the overview and then get the references on them.
And that'd be part of our process.
Yeah. And I think we do need a meeting to go through that. I don't think we just need to vote, in a regular meeting. I think we need to have a meeting to look at all
Just sit and
that.
talk about it,
Yeah,
yeah.
sit and talk.
Yeah, what I'd love to see is everybody leave here, go get your copies of all of, or, if we decide to narrow it down tonight, of the relevant firms. Has everybody looked at those? Was everybody copied on that note that has the scanned copies?
I got that to Carol.
Okay, can you forward that to everyone?
Yes.
And then you can look at it. I mean, I should have printed that for you.
Yeah, you should print it out.
There's some copies in that notebook.
Yeah, I knew I had some copies, so look through those, and if you could rearrange that sheet to,
Right, for what Jason indicated, I've got 3 on there now. I can just add one more
Add,
column
yeah,
for Spratling and Son,
Spratling and Son.
and then you can see that side-by-side comparison for those items, and then the way it's set up is those additional items are kind of at the bottom of that. But you can hold, instead of flipping back and forth between several, you can hold that. But then, just to make sure I'm clear on the direction, and I know you have to make a motion and vote on this, but again, just to reiterate, those 4 would be 1, 2, 3, 5, as they're listed on here, is who I would reach out for that additional information on, specifically for relevant experience, and then the references. And then what I would actually like to do is to follow up with those references and either provide a copy of an email from a reference or a summary of a phone call from a reference to be able to provide to council.
now, are we discounting Cook just because we couldn't find any info on them?
Yes.
So we probably shouldn't do that. Let's put a little more effort into finding out, or I'll do that, I'll be happy to do that, see if I can find more info on them.
It should be on their
website.
Yeah, I really haven't gotten into these things like I should, I'll just flip through them.
Do we feel comfortable making the recommendation on those 4? The 1, 2, 3, and.
Well, he's wanting to look at number 4, so I would say we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm
we
getting
do
at.
3, and then.
And when you have everything side by side, then it's a little
Right.
easier perhaps.
Is it Gainesville?
Yeah, they're out of Gainesville.
They're in Gainesville, Paul.
It's thecookandcompany.com.
Greg, what's his name, Swinks? What's his name? Swinks?
Greg Swinks. Greg.
Have you ever had this where they're this close together?
I've had some that are within 1%, but
Oh, wow.
usually the guy who's 1% high is not real happy. But
Yeah.
so that usually that's what you want to see. I mean, you don't want to see them 30% apart.
Price is right.
Yeah.
David, did you have any thoughts?
A couple. One, it is a municipal building, but the design and construction is a residential style.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's value in locale.
I agree. So long as locale is
Well,
Good.
just for
good.
like a service call or,
Right.
just close proximity and word of mouth and local reputation.
Well, should we set a date to go over this? How long do you think it would take to get all those references and stuff?
Well, tomorrow's Tuesday, so I mean, I would expect to have everything this week, as far as from the offers or depending on what they want to put together. I wouldn't necessarily expect it by Wednesday, but I would expect to have it, this
Friday,
week.
Saturday.
So, yeah, if you're,
In the main things that you're looking for is relevant experience and then context from previous references. Yeah.
specifically
Yeah.
related to those relevant experience
Okay,
management, yes.
gotcha,
Mhm.
gotcha.
Yeah, well, we'll need the usual week lead time to advertise the called meeting. So it couldn't be next Monday anyway. It'd have to be at the earliest, the 5th of March. Or it doesn't have to be a Monday, obviously, but it seems to be the easiest thing to do. So do we want to meet back on the 5th? Meet on the 5th of March? A called meeting,
When's that, 2 weeks?
that's 2 weeks from tonight.
Well, do we want to make sure we get everything first before we set a date, or do we have to do that? Do you want to give him to the end of the week, because you can still get it out in the paper within that if we get everything in, or no?
I think if they can't get it in 2
Yeah,
weeks,
then we're not-
probably,
yeah.
that tells us something too, right?
Yeah. I'd say go ahead and set the date. If we don't have it, we can always do another date, but I
Mhm.
think let's set something and get going on
Okay.
it.
Do we need to make a motion and vote on, to have a called meeting and discuss, okay. So,
I move we have a called meeting to discuss the new town hall bids on March the 5th.
now during that, will we make a decision, or will we take another 2 weeks to kick it around and then make the decision on the following regularly
I have
scheduled?
no idea, but that's my motion
Okay.
right now.
I would say that'd be start of our discussion.
Okay.
I mean, if we can, right, we can make it.
But yeah, if we can, we can, if not,
We don't necessarily need to put that in. All right, we have a motion to have a called meeting on the 5th of March, which is 2 weeks from tonight at 7:30 here to discuss new information on the top 5.
do we need to make a motion on the top 5?
I think we can build it into that to discuss the top 5 as presented in this sheet.
Yeah, I could amend
Okay.
my motion.
Okay, we have that motion. Do we have a second? There's a second. All in favor of doing that, taking that action? This is unanimous. So we will meet
We at 7 or 7:30, just so I know.
7:30.
7:30, all right, all right.
Actually, no,
no, can we
No?
keep it at
we
7?
can,
Oh.
we can,
All right.
we can
See,
alter
this is
that.
where I get confused.
It's a called
All right.
meeting, I forget.
7 o'clock, all right.
If it's 7 o'clock,
Seven's
okay?
better?
At 7, but I'll try.
Okay. I'm sure we'll be here longer than 30 minutes for this one, so,
Someone want to come help me at the farm?
all right, anything else, guys?
How will you gather that information between now and 2 weeks from now?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Well, Mark's gonna send us the spreadsheets with the.
I'll send the spreadsheet with the breakdown of the 5 tomorrow.
Yeah,
And then I will solicit, because I have the email address contacts of those 5, so it will be a standard email that will go out to the representatives
From
from
the same
those
contact
5.
that they're used to.
And then, based on the information that's provided, I will follow up with either a phone call or email to the relevant experience there. Does anybody else want to do any investigative work as well,
Paul's good at
tangential to
doing
that?
things.
So,
If there's any part of it that you like, where if you get overloaded or you want, yeah, I'll be happy to contact with you and help in that process. But if you're willing and able to do that part of it, we would be happy to have you do that part of it.
okay.
and would you give them a time frame to get back with you? No,
By the end of the week or
Yeah.
by
For the relevant experience and the
Yeah.
references.
All right, that work for everybody? Awesome.
Sorry we didn't narrow it down to 3 for you. We're working on it.
Yeah. That's fine, it's less than 8.
Yeah.
and all of them are pretty close, you know, that's the thing, okay?
Is there anything else that you need me for this evening?
And you will where they haven't added all this in, you've got the.
Right, so I've got
that.
what they said their number
Yeah.
was, and then if there's anything below,
Then
right,
you
and if
added
they
that.
didn't,
Was there others besides the caliper one that had things below that?
Yes.
Okay, because I did.
That's the one that really
that.
stood out to me. I just spent just time reading it, but I saw that it had.
and some of those that had higher numbers did say what they included.
Yeah.
This higher number includes blank, 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 right.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wait, please, is this anybody's?
No, that's mine.
All right.
All
All right, see y'all.
I have copies of all of that. Y'all wanna see it?
Yeah, and we'll, can you send that email out to everybody?
Yeah, I
I guess Carolyn can take these copies if she wants. I'm gonna Violet can take these copies of the
These
proposals
Oh, those, oh, okay.
to flip through. Yeah, please do look at those.
Let me leave them here and I'll come look at it here.
Up to you.
That's the best thing.
Okay.
Once it gets into my truck, it's
That's
like
a copy, one copy
the
of all.
black hole,
Okay.
the black hole.
Yeah, please do open these up and look through them fairly
Yeah,
fairly
I-
heavily. Let's not make, next,
No.
our meeting the first time, you've
No,
looked at
that's
the
what I mean.
information.
If I leave them here, I'll
Things will
come
get
look
going
at
a lot
them.
quicker, I think, if we can do that. Any other thoughts, comments about this process?
I think getting references and calling them is the important
Sure.
thing. And,
Okay.
and I can't figure out why they don't include like electrical wiring. I would think that would be a major thing.
No, that's true. I mean, yeah.
Caliber one, I'm
We have a good
going, when I
reason.
read that, that's what, and the equipment for the kitchen was not on there. So, and I'm going, okay. That's my question.
I think that might be common. I know a lot of people that do renovations, they don't include like
Well, this
bathrooms,
isn't a
faucets,
renovation.
and
Yeah,
problems in
renovation is
redo a
a
room.
major thing.
Involves appliances, some people put kids in there.
Okay, all right.
All right, well, we'll move on then to the street update, old business. Fraser Hill, we've got the money for that, the LNIG funds for the resurfacing. Carolyn had a thought, the guys that are doing the surveying for the new bridge are surveying, what are they, 500 feet to either side of the existing road?
On the center line.
Yeah, so it's, it's a fair distance down here, but of course, the other way would impact the end of Fraser Hill, where they, and I just cannot imagine they'd go that route. When you can bring dirt in and build up on this side, it's gotta be much easier than blasting granite out of the other side, but, I'm not an engineer. But it could potentially impact, so, should we go ahead and resurface? Or should
I
that be put
think
off?
so, because we have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they do resurface, and we say, hey, look, we have a new road here, you need to pay us for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Be
I
hard
just want to
nosed
make
with
sure
it.
everybody knows that. Okay. What are we waiting on? We're waiting on nicer weather, or?
Paul, he was gonna check with the homeowners
Okay.
and,
And
ask them to call them.
I went by and I didn't get to speak with everybody, but I at least left them a note on their door and a couple of cookies, saying, hey, we're repaving this road. Do you have any interest in having your driveway paved at the same time? I gave them the contact information for Garrett Paving, and so as far as I know, I don't think anybody's really following up with it. So at this point, there's nothing else. I mean, I've asked them myself just because they're going to be right there.
Sure. That's a nice thing to do.
Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe not if anybody follows up, but yeah.
So we're good to go, is what we're saying. So, okay, you want to get in touch with Garrett and
Do you want me to?
Yeah, that's great.
Get on their schedule?
I'm gonna contact them again because I did ask them for a quote on my driveway and they never got back to me at all. So I'll contact them again. But it's you have more contact with them than I do. So if you want to let them know that the city is ready to move forward, that'd be great.
And that one citizen at least is ready to get a,
Yeah.
Right.
to get a
Quote at least.
quote.
All right. Also, Race Church Road, is this the
Yes.
end there?
Do you
Everybody get a
have
copy of that now?
those in your folder from Emil?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, has anybody been down Rocky Branch Road?
Oh, yeah, two paper staples.
You see what they've done, so
Yeah,
far?
yeah. You gotta go
Um,
like, it's a
Like Paul's got it.
Stapled.
Yeah, 'cause you gotta go and then, instead of merging, you gotta sort of all stop and then make a right angle.
I wonder what the
Yeah,
impetus
they have the cones
was
up right
for
now.
them to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it definitely.
I think people were taking it too wide and.
Oh, I do that all the time. If there's no traffic, I
Just
Yeah,
fly.
right,
never
right,
slow
right,
down,
right.
but,
Especially with the school buses sitting there.
yeah. Oh, if there was traffic around, so, obviously I'd back it down, but it definitely does the trick, and you've got to slow down to almost nothing to turn now, especially after they get done. I wanted to wait until they're completely done to see what it looks like and the effect, but I think it could be a very good something for us to do there at Ray's Church. I'm not so keen on the three-way stop thoughts. But if anybody has
That was so
or
not bad.
is, it sure would. Anybody a pro on that?
Well, if you
Concept.
could put the three-way stop at the, just, after another speed bump, with the three-way stop, so they have to slow down.
Say it
Okay,
again, I'm not sure. I understand.
here's the, three-way stop.
At the Hillsborough
Yeah,
and Ray's Church
And
Road.
Ray's Church Road. If you put a speed bump here
Mhm.
on Hillsborough Road, they sort of have to slow down and stop.
Oh, I think we do a stop sign, then we wouldn't need the
Well,
additional speed
people run-
bump.
Run stop signs,
What
unfortunately.
would the downside be to the stop sign?
Just the reputation for, oh Christ, here they go with something else.
Yeah.
I live on that road, and there's still people who just, might as well not be there,
Right,
60,
right.
70, don't care.
I don't think it's as bad as it used to be.
No, the bumps actually,
Bumps those
really do
people
help.
down.
Do we have any estimates of like the cost of the project to reroute Ray's Church Road to where it comes into more of a right angle?
He's got the numbers here, it's $25 per linear foot, or he's guesstimating $37.50 for the curbing. Some old striping, what's he got here, it's 6,500,
If road department
yeah,
forces.
is his kick around.
And how much of that 6,500 would the town be responsible for? Do we know? Would that be everything, like the town?
It looks
would
like
be
he's putting it,
responsible
he's
for
putting it all on the town here.
Yeah, but this is a county road, remember, and we need to remind him of that.
I was just wondering.
Both Hillsborough and Ray's Church
Yeah.
are county roads, so I'd say, we could possibly split the cost with you, or something like that. Since it is a county road.
And that'd be nice.
And then
Yeah.
you'd be like, take up your
It
speed
would.
bumps. and-
Yeah, right, yeah,
Take up
yeah.
your speed
Yeah.
bumps and we'll
No.
split the cost.
Gotta be
That's what
careful
I'm
with
saying,
that.
Yeah, right.
No.
I didn't know if there was any precedent for doing new road work, whether it's all on the municipality or if it involves the county at all, but.
Well, I think we've done it before too, then they don't ever send us a bill.
What was that?
They just did it for us?
Yeah,
Wow.
it just was like, it was done and then.
What project was it?
And then there have been
Speedway
things
and
where we
some-
have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's sort of.
Okay. Yeah, and then, of course, there's the question, is that investment, what do you get out of it? Is it, slowing people turning right there, but is it gonna slow them appreciably, or are they just gonna stomp on it and they're still going 60 by the time they get to Violet's driveway?
Well, they have to slow down a
It'll
little bit.
definitely slow down on Hillsborough.
Yeah, because right now.
Yeah, it's a really
it's
easy
just
curve,
in,
sure.
yeah.
I like the idea. like I say, I'm not as keen on the three-way stop, but
Yeah.
that's just my personal opinion. I'm not totally against it, so.
Yeah, I'm indifferent on the stuff. I like the idea of the turn.
Yeah.
Curbing.
There is
Yeah.
times,
I'm
yeah,
different on the
I mean,
south
there's
side.
times when I'm driving and I have another passenger in my vehicle and I'm like trying to turn left there and I have to have them move their head so that I can see to be able, it is kind of a blind
Yeah.
intersection to look back at.
I always use the
So-
speed bump as a.
Right,
It's
it's,
stop sign,
it's a
too.
deterrent. If you see somebody like launching over the hill, I just, but yeah, sure. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely would, I think it would slow down, people coming and going in that area and it would establish, I guess, sorry.
Better visibility too. in
Yeah,
the corner.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because you do have to come out for the visibility
Yeah,
on
so like an
on
angle.
Hillsburg, yeah. We had this on the agenda quite a few years ago, but the plans that the engineers drew up were so expensive.
Right.
To do the same sort of thing, to make it a more of a T?
It was,
Put in a circle that's $100,000.
right,
Oh,
yeah, and
just
all
kinda-
this sort of stuff, but, we kept saying we wanted more of a T intersection, but they wanted to add all this tremendous stuff to make it more
Right.
expensive.
Right.
So anyway, it's time to, again,
Yeah,
work
okay.
on it and get going on it.
Well, do we want to wait until they're finished with Rocky Branch so we know kind of exactly what it's going to look like? Or are we good enough to move forward now?
I'd say let's put it on let's go ahead and get on their work list.
Okay.
And then if we see that it needs something changed slightly, we can add it. We can do that before they start working on it.
Do we-
'Cause
do
I'm
we wanna
sure they
do-
have an agenda of
We
work
want to do a
do.
motion for this?
At least that you make the contact.
So, one question before we motion, is this something that, if the town was responsible for the complete cost of it, is it something that could come from SPOS funds? Okay. So, that makes, to me, that makes my decision a little bit easier to say, if we can use SPOS funds that we have for road improvements, seems like an improvement to the road and to the people that are using it and for safety and for, slowing some excessive speeders during the turns. I would motion that we would move forward with, contacting the road department and getting it put on their schedule to, do the adjustment to the road to make it more of a T shape than it currently is.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We do have a second. All in favor? That is unanimous, so we will move forward with that project. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Awesome. And, well, these only two road things, where did we land on Gober Road? We kicked it around, but
Nothing,
nothing?
nothing,
For that hill?
Yeah. Yeah, any urge to revisit that or just let it go for now? And what I'm thinking is there were thoughts of a mirror or possibly a flashing sign, these things.
Well, I think a flashing sign might be good at the city limits that you're coming over. I think it really would. So I'd like maybe to put that on, flashing sign with intersection. And what else did I see on a flashing sign recently that sort of brought your attention to it? It said,
Caution or something?
yeah, a caution intersection like speed limit and
Mhm.
caution intersection. That you can have the signs made that way. And I think just for safety's sake and to protect the citizens coming out of Shady Field Lane.
Okay. One caveat is that it would necessarily need to be outside of town limits.
Yeah.
Because the town limits are they're literally right at the top of the hill, and if you're doing it any after that, you're wasting your time because they're already over the hill.
Launched in, yeah.
So maybe all we can do is ask the county to do that for us.
Mhm.
Okay, but we'll,
Yeah, well, at least pursue it
yeah.
for future reference, because what's happening is that more and more traffic is coming on
sure.
that road at faster speeds.
Just like everywhere.
Somebody put a sign just on, even on Shady Field Lane, you know, drive like your child lives here. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a theory that the worst offenders would be the ones that, if you were doing that on their street, would be the most nasty about it. That's just my theory, but, okay, we'll pursue that, so I don't think we need to make a motion on that.
Just mention it.
Yeah. Any other road issues? I think that's all we got going on right now.
But this is positive.
Oh, yeah,
Moving
absolutely.
forward. Yeah.
That's why we're here. Park updates, I don't think there's anything new other than our visitors' work.
I think you got into your stacks someplace,
Mhm.
but the Tony Serrano bike ride is coming again,
Okay.
When is that, Carol?
April the 7th.
Well, have they contacted you?
Y'all don't have it.
There it is.
Okay.
I'll pass it around if you want to see it. And there's generally two of them close together. So have you heard of the other one?
I have not yet.
And that's April 7th.
Sure, Oconee or something like that.
Have they contacted you about Port Authority and all that stuff? No?
I mean, I've just got that today, so
Peek at it. Okay.
They're usually pretty good.
they are.
Yeah, there's nothing we need to do. They just, they handle it all and do a great job with it, I think.
Do we know, did BJ ever do the baseball field?
He has not. We were talking about this earlier. It's, apparently Jeff Thomas, former mayor, is coming in tomorrow, and if he's true to form, he'll want to essentially kind of rent the ball field out for the season.
Yeah.
Because he does it for his team, and then there are several other teams in this league, I guess, that he also does it for, which is, that's
The park
awesome.
looks pretty rough right now.
It is rough. I contacted BJ, who was his brother-in-law, I guess, or maybe his nephew-in-law. But, he hasn't done anything, and I haven't been in touch with him. But what we thought we'd do is mention that to Jeff tomorrow. See if he is interested in getting it into shape, or maybe waiving some fees and keeping it up.
Did they do that last year?
The Dick Sporting Goods guy was doing it.
Yeah.
And, maybe he's not interested, maybe he go, hey, I don't want to do that, but I thought it was worth mentioning to him. Depending on how that comes out, I guess I'll go back to BJ and see, if he's interested. If not, then we will need to, anyone else have any suggestions? I went to BJ because he had apparently done it in the past, when he had a kid playing on a team, I think, so. Anybody know anyone else to go to before we start?
Well, if he doesn't want to do it, we can ask him if he has a reference, somebody to do it.
Sure.
And we could ask Dave
If anybody
Lawrence
had a
too.
brother who's,
I think he might know. Dave Lawrence might know somebody too.
oh yeah, I bet David.
I can find out who does it at Watkinsville.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that would probably be our next move if we didn't know
Parks and
anybody.
Rec Services of Oconee County or Watkinsville, we have other ball fields that get maintained, they have to have somebody that does it, so yeah, it would be nice to have it nicer, to where you can
I mean, 'cause
feel like
we
you're not
got
gonna break
that.
your ankle.
No, it's not awful, it's just got a few little,
Yeah.
the
Thinking
dirt needs to be evened out.
That Watkinsville just leases theirs to Little League,
Uh-huh.
and then they're responsible for all the maintenance, but I will call Julie and ask her.
But maybe it's all a moot point, and Jeff is,
Yeah,
he
maybe
planned to
so.
do it anyway, so.
Yeah, maybe.
But we'll see, but that's on the radar, getting that done.
I know the dogs like it out there.
Yeah, people love to let them run, close all the gates and let them run loose. I used to do that. I had an escape artist, he couldn't, if he's gone, he's gone. So I'd have to walk the fence very carefully and make sure there's no chance he could get out. It was a joy to him to be able to get off the leash, yeah.
That's fun.
Any other park issues? I don't have anything. Town hall basement, I'm sure you all know, it's done apparently. Has anybody checked it out? I've been down there and looked at it. It looks great.
I have a little handout. You can make it to the folders. And those things. I think that's enough for everybody.
Did you get your invoice from, what was it, Home Depot, wasn't it?
Pardon me?
Did you get your invoice from Home Depot? Not invoice, but the requisite records
Yes.
from them. I gave, you know, I told you, FYI, they have our bank
Yes.
info, so, yeah. Which is fine.
And Morgan has checked it out, and he thought it was good. The lights are safe and sound down there. And they went ahead and put down a wood floor in case we want to put metal filing cabinets, you know, to keep the metal off the dehumidifiers running.
Yeah, I need to see what kind of room we got, but our next step is to get all that stuff out of that little storage room in Watkinsville that we paid
Yes.
$120 for a month, I think.
We looked under this part, there's a little part of the first window
Oh, yeah.
that you can't get to. And I sent y'all a picture of that. It's just a huge piece of granite that this building is sitting on, which is why they closed it off, which was a good
There's nothing
idea.
you could do with it in there, yeah.
Mhm. And the post that holds it up is just a cedar tree. You can see where the limbs were. It's so cute.
Yeah.
But Morgan did say we might want to put a 4x4 metal post or something next to it, not to take that out. But, you know, then I think Toby and I were talking about maybe putting some kind of thin metal over the window.
Oh, yeah.
That way you don't have to worry about it busting or, I mean, you know, we can never use that part. But it was nice to look in there and see that. I wonder who put that cedar post right there. But it's neat to see the limbs cut off there. And Toby has the thing about the windows, if we get the 2 windows, and Clark said he would get a new door for $200, I think.
Yeah, that's what this says, 200 per
And
door,
then,
and then $70 per window.
Yes, that's for all.
$470 for
70.
No.
No,
Oh,
seven.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
okay.
if you have the total next to it,
470, I
which is
believe.
$490 to $7.
Yeah, while he was here, he just measured for all of them.
Yeah.
But we don't, you know, we don't have to get all of them, but,
I mean, have a look at it, it looks reasonable to me.
Morgan says that is a good
Yeah, that's
deal,
right. Morgan
because
looked
these
at
are
it.
not standard size.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
They're
say
gonna have to be-
$70
70 windows.
is-
They've got, he thought that was a real good deal.
Yeah, it looks really inexpensive,
You can't
yeah.
just go to Lowe's and get one.
Seems kind of
Yeah,
cheap.
hard to believe.
Yeah.
He got the,
but I presume it's
got the
plexiglass,
legs
you know.
out fast, I'm
Mhm.
impressed.
Yeah, they did that same
Holy
day.
cow. If you
But
thought
you
about
know,
doing
it
it-
makes
Mr.
it
Caulfield did
really
that.
Yeah,
dark.
yeah, he did a great job, it was quick.
When we had the foggy night, it was
Mhm.
so nice to have those lights at the intersections.
Oh, yeah, I bet if you got used to it, you can definitely tell
Yeah,
the difference.
yeah. You can, it was pretty dark.
We thought about giving Mr. Highfield anything for,
Yeah, we gave him a little
Oh,
certificate
did you?
at Christmas time, but we definitely want to keep him on our good list.
I'll
and
type him a thank you note for you to sign.
Any opportunity to,
I saw you sent him an email too.
yeah, yeah,
He's very nice.
yeah.
yeah, they
Above
were
and
down
beyond for that
like
stuff.
that.
I know. Yeah.
He's real sweet. So,
Yeah.
you know, outside of the, maybe the metal and the windows and the doors, done. It looks, I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, also the, you know, I don't know if you noticed, the drainage stuff they did.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe that'll help as well.
One thing I would ask to see if you all would like to consider is, I know that we have a balance due. I would like to see how it performs under weather before we pay the complete balance. I'd be, you know, up for paying, you know, 80% of the balance due and just kind of holding off on the last little bit, or is to ensure that, you know, the work that was performed is not allowing more moisture down in there like we had hoped. Or, if, you know.
Is there a guarantee that he's offering besides, is there any guarantee or not really?
I hate
No,
to
there's
tell y'all
nothing
this. I hate to tell you this, but when Morgan gave it an okay.
Yeah, he's paid.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you know, how do you set the parameter if we hadn't already done that? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Right.
we didn't say that up front. Now,
Morgan did a great job.
Clark did tell me that day we had the downpour.
Oh, yeah, he told me about that.
They found where the water.
It doesn't
was
just
coming-
seep, it literally
It was
flows
coming
through
in,
there.
and they tried to clear that up.
That is true.
Yeah.
I went, he asked me to come down there and look at it, and I did, and they had painted that day, they had painted the walls, and literally, the paint was in puddles. You know, and
Just how it seeps, how much comes through.
Yeah.
yes, I mean, this basement is not built
So
like.
they worked on that and said they had tried to get it cleared up, so. Yeah, since we didn't make that parameter at
It's
first.
just kind of
yeah.
disappointing though that
Yeah,
like
okay.
he had already thought that he was at this point where he can paint the walls and it would stay, you know, and then all this moisture comes and it washes off the paint. It's not been waterproof down there. I mean, that's honest what has happened. It's not been waterproofed. If he was at that stage and he thought that he had waterproofed it, it's not waterproofed. So, I mean, we built a floor. And then the plywood isn't treated plywood, it's just regular plywood, so how long is it gonna be before that rots out? I don't
I
know.
think the plywood was treated.
No, I've looked at it.
Well, is plywood treated on both sides? Because I
Yeah,
think he
it's treated all the
said,
way through.
I
So
thought he
might
said he
use
put the
treated
treated
2x4s.
side on the bottom.
He might have used treated 2x4s, but treated plywood is a different color. It's not just the yellowy color, it's a greenish color when it's treated. But, yeah, that's a
It's
little
hard.
disappointing to me, but.
And the floor doesn't go completely to the wall for that. I think there's a 2-inch.
Yeah, around it, which is, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, like, if you did, then that moisture's gonna hit the boards and soak in. I don't know, I mean, it's definitely better than it was. We'll see how it goes. It may all be moot
I thought he
points
told
in
me
one
that he
meeting.
put the-
It all may be a moot point because the bridge may come right through here and
Yeah.
we have to move this thing or tear it down or, anyway. Oh, he did say, interesting, that if they did come through and had to buy the building as they do when they put a road through your house, a quote, finished basement gets you a lot more money than
Yeah.
what it was
Yes.
before. so.
And I did call the tax assessor.
And they agreed
They
that that
told me
was.
when we got done to call them and they'd come back and
Okay.
reassess.
Oh, okay.
So, there is that, I guess.
But I don't know if we want to, because they may think we have an indoor bathroom if they come and see it. I don't know. But anyway, they said they would come back and look at the building if we got it all done.
Okay.
So are they thinking this way, over here, this way for the bridge?
I'm assuming, I mean, they gotta go one side or the
Side
other.
of the road.
Well, they were all through our whole house.
Yeah.
They were all through our whole thing, the water, the bridges, they went all the way down, past the power plant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
They were
they were doing
everywhere.
500 yards from the center line on either, 500 feet.
You know, we got that big white tube, they were asking us about that,
Fine.
you know,
Yeah, but again, my personal thought would be,
What kind of big one, too?
for the power plant.
Oh,
The
okay. the-
Turnpike, yeah.
I mean, I just can't imagine it would be better or easier or less expensive to go to the right than to do it on this
Yeah.
side. But, you know, what do I know?
It would take half of our whole thing right there too.
Hmm.
I don't know,
It will
because-
definitely
Come right down
affect,
by our house too.
yeah.
Cause you got the dam too on the left
Mm,
side,
yeah, right.
so they can't, I don't know what they would do about that too.
Right. Unless they put it like almost, no, there's not enough room to put it right next
That's
to
what I'm
it.
saying, they can't do
Yeah.
that, so I don't know if they can, cause that would affect the whole water with the dam.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
you're
don't know
right.
if they could even do that, so that's why I'm thinking they would have to go on the right side
Yeah.
and take out all this, but I'm not an engineer,
There's
so.
stakes everywhere.
Yeah, just FYI, I haven't done anything yet, but one of my ideas is to try to find out how we can lobby for, when it comes to designing the bridge, to get something interesting or nice, not just another, interstate overpass,
Right.
concrete bridge. Something, because it's a really beautiful area.
Yeah.
I see arches and, all
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
The sidewalk.
But, it's government road guys, so, their hearts aren't always in.
Yeah, we may want to make a contact with this.
But what I've spoken with,
Possible, yeah.
with the attorney about it, with Joe, and, so slowly, trying to figure out who we could talk to and how you would go about lobbying for something like that.
Maybe we should contact our representative,
Wouldn't that? Yep.
both the Morgan, Walton, and Oconee
Absolutely.
representatives,
Yeah,
and start with them,
yeah.
and maybe they can get us the good contacts to talk with.
That's a good idea.
because I know Lee's concerned, Lee Moody across the river, everybody's over there concerned.
Anybody have any other old business before we move on? Okay, new stuff, landscape for town hall, and what that's referring to is this, is the slope back here.
Oh, yeah.
That we talked about getting something on there. It's the same issue, you know, do you wanna spend a lot of money and effort? If they're gonna bulldoze it, or
Oh, yeah,
you know,
that's
it's
true.
gonna disappear under the new road. Any thoughts on that?
There's a grant that's available, but it has to have signage, I think, so I don't know, it has to say, it has to be on the state road, remember that? It's like,
And I think it's the gate, they call it a gateway.
yeah, it's gotta have
Gateway
the town
grant.
hall, or town name, and then like a little plot of, like grass or something like that.
Oh, yeah, like at the town limits or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
And it has to have how much it would cost, what it would do to be maintained, and that kind of stuff. So I can look into that.
Yeah, that would be good.
But I don't know, I don't think it's approved until October though, so you might wanna have some.
Well, we've
other
got
stuff
some
done.
ideas and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Mhm.
take some pictures and so on. and
Yeah,
see.
I don't know if you wanna do something before the summer.
Well, I don't know, it's just not actually actively washing away, is it? I mean, I know the potential's
No,
there.
and I think there's some, maybe a little bit of old netting
Hmm.
out there, you know.
Yeah, we
that
put
is
some
rotting.
netting a long time ago on there,
So look into.
But some of these
like that
plants are not
anyway.
expensive, I don't think. This is just, Violet's friend helped her
Mhm.
come up with just some
I
ideas.
just
These
wonder
are
what
only
stuff
ideas.
is.
She's not even a quote. These are suggestions and.
Yeah, I know Hillary as well, and, you know, I can vouch that she's great at horticulture, and she knows what she's doing, and I actually had approached her at one point, asking her if maybe she might want to do some design part of it for our new town hall, is what I was thinking, and so, I like the idea of putting some plants and stuff here. I also want to kind of move forward with our new town hall and maybe see about having her or somebody do some nice work at the park area, telling us actually design like what the
Mhm.
plants should
Oh,
be
yeah.
like, and, yeah. And I'll have her, Hillary's, I guess, niece, is at the College of UGA in a master's program for landscape design. And so she's also like looking for projects and stuff like that she might be able to use for work credits.
Oh.
And so if we can possibly get the two of them to get involved together on something, that would help her and help us at the same time, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So-
And I love that idea, but when we had the landscape people design
Mm.
the entrance to the park, it was like $500,000, and
Right.
it was mainly
Right.
asphalt and brick, which is not what you
Mhm.
want in the park,
Right.
you know? Yeah, it was pretty, but it wasn't functional.
We can't have asphalt.
Yeah.
I already went down that path.
Yeah.
They won't let it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
One thing that
They could do something simple.
that said that
Yeah.
was kind of interesting to me in a lot of different fields in like architecture and like interior design and like landscape design. One of my questions I always ask students that are at UGA or wherever is like, what kind of budget, what projects do you work on? Like, what are the budgets for your projects? And they're like, oh, we never have a budget. I'm like, what? Never have a budget? Like, how do you decide what you're gonna do if you don't have a budget? Like, so, and that was, I guess, Acorn is her name, who's, is also like, yeah, that we need to have projects that have some budgets, and so if we have, set budget, hey, we want to have some nice shrubbery around the park, and we've got $5,000 to do it. Like, what can you design that would meet those requirements? Instead of just writing a proposal, say like design us something. Oh yeah, we can design anything, and we can give you a $500,000 design.
Yeah.
But if we say, hey, here's $5,000, like an idea of a scope, if we want to have this we're spending a lot of money on making this a beautiful building, why don't we landscape it a little bit, you know? I don't know, that's just a thought for further down the road, nothing right now.
Yeah,
that need
yeah,
to
we
do,
don't want it
but-
looking
right,
sterile.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, so.
Yeah, we do. We didn't make a decision, but it's not that much money, so I don't think we need to vote on it or any of that. Everybody fine with the windows and door situation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's incredibly inexpensive.
Yeah.
so.
So go ahead and order the two for the basement.
I think so, and the door, yeah.
Metal for the other one.
Well, I don't know, what are we talking about doing here? You say metal?
Oh, well, Prince Plus has a big sale on their thin metal,
Hmm.
and then you wouldn't have to worry about it getting knocked out or busted out, you know, if you wanted to cover it up with metal. Or do you want to put another window
For which one?
in the one that we can't use?
The one where the plant used to.
Right, the one-
Our radon detector.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that we need to replace it, but do we want to replace it if we can't, I mean, if there's nothing accessing it? I mean, if we can't, I don't know, we can, but
What did
I
they
wouldn't
put
want to put
over
metal over it,
Yeah,
no.
No.
And when a window there,
Yeah,
3 windows.
yeah.
And when we say windows, what do we mean? They're gonna pull out the casing and the plexiglass and put a new casing in plexiglass?
Purchase glass.
I've seen with this price, it's plexiglass, but I could be wrong.
Plexiglass is fine.
I mean,
Or wouldn't that be less expensive than glass?
yeah, yeah, sure. I would like to just kind of maintain this, the same sort of, it has a 4-light top and bottom right now, I mean, but I don't think that that's probably what's included in the quote. Does it say like, if they're gonna have a 4-light, like insulated glass?
I would love that, but yeah,
or-
to see what they're
Yeah.
actually talking about.
Yeah,
You could ask them, is it gonna be 4 panes?
Yeah,
Is
right,
that what
yeah.
we're talking about? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I'll let you know.
let's check into that, and then if that is the case, we'll pursue it. If not, then we'll come back and see.
But I mean, it needs to be done, so, I mean, if they're reasonable in their pricing, you know, as
Yeah.
long as it's something that we think, you know, still maintains the look of the building, then we'll go for it. I don't think we need to talk about it again, but, you know, we can, yeah.
Okay. So,
I'll let you know what they say.
okay, and Ann, you're gonna look into the grant
Yeah,
for the,
yeah, I think I
that we might be able to do the bank with, and you're gonna speak with, did you say your name was Acorn?
Yeah. Yeah.
You gonna speak with her or
Sure,
Hillary
sure.
and
Yeah,
about,
see.
I mean, it's early days, but
Just-
about
yeah,
the town
right,
hall and,
right.
yeah.
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah, seems possible.
Doesn't she do Superside or whatever?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And yeah, speaking of, did we decided to move forward with the Bermuda for the volleyball court?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to order that and get it done. I guess, you know, it doesn't matter, it starts, what is it, green up?
It's
April-ish,
almost time,
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
it's almost time, yeah.
So we've got that quote,
What was that?
we're gonna put Bermuda as the stopping
It's the special Bermuda.
to keep the sand from,
Oh, yeah, like a little
Yeah.
edging.
And then we can add some more sand because it's been washed out.
yeah, if it needs it, I guess we
Yeah,
should do
Let's
that.
get the Bermuda established and.
Let's
and
to
grade
to
it
make
all.
sure that it is a special Bermuda, because that stuff, I mean, it's a weed, it'll
No,
take
she
over
said
the
it was a
courts.
special Bermuda. Read it, it has
Unless we're, you know, I know at home I have to
enough, it has a name.
round
a
up
special
everything
name,
every 2 weeks, or
A
it takes
special
over.
name to it. Didn't it have?
I don't remember. I don't see anything on this list about it, but I'll
No,
email her as
The
well.
email she sent you, several weeks ago on the, how much it cost and then what kind of,
Yes.
Could we line it with monkey grass?
Yeah.
I think people are gonna trip on that, yeah.
Yeah, anything that's not flat from
Yeah.
the sand, transition to, from the sand to,
Yeah.
I will
Hopefully
look-
down
I'll
a
look
little
for
bit.
that.
Yeah, look for the email on that, cause it had a special name to
I'll send
it.
it to her.
no, Jimmy, yeah, let's double check before we order,
Mhm.
just to make sure. I'm sure that she took that in, or he took that
And
into
we could
account.
check with Hillary to make certain, but we walked all over there and looked at it and what kind of drainage needed to be, and that we could put some on the little drainage ditch that we'd make around the volleyball court and do that, so we spent quite a bit of time looking at it to see what would be the best way to do it. And the best thing is there's raw soil up above the court, and if we sodded that in and then put just a little shallow ditch to go around, that would take some of the water off of it too. So, yeah, a couple of little things to do that wouldn't take too much, but we might need somebody's strong back to do the little shallow, I'm talking about like this, and put the sod on it so that the water just comes off around.
I'm there if you need me.
Huh?
I'm there if you need me.
Okay, good. It's
That
all
sounds
right.
like contractor work to me.
Well,
Yeah.
Guy with a Bobcat to design and,
needs a small swale.
what are you gonna do with it?
Huh?
You gonna do it with a shovel?
That's what I do everything at my farm with.
Or are you gonna do it with a shovel?
No, I'm gonna get somebody else to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
I will,
I suspect the person that would do it would probably do it with
yeah,
like a Bobcat.
yeah, okay,
But I understand what you're saying,
yeah.
and, you don't wanna go too deep, but, okay. All right, so I'll follow up with you.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Sign for the town.
We were talking about, you know, we were talking about maybe getting a sign for the town hall.
Yeah,
Sign for town hall.
It just came up because apparently a couple of people were looking, some of these bidders were looking for town hall and couldn't find it.
And that's why I put the city limit sign on the porch.
Which personally I think works great, but, we do have a small sign over the top there, town hall, but, once upon a time, there was a sign hung off the, building.
Yeah.
And I guess it just got old.
I think Amy Lawrence took it to repaint it.
It's
Yeah,
right
we've got-
behind you.
Actually, it's right behind you. We've got it over here. It's in pretty rough shape, though.
Did it return?
No, it's wooden, slanted.
It's
just
behind
the wall.
Highland Chase.
Oh, down that way.
No, it's done that way.
So we need a new one.
It's like a saloon sign.
Yeah.
But yeah, it used to hang on.
Let's go.
Shoals Saloon, here we go, Shoals Saloon.
Maybe we use that instead of tax money,
Do y'all want me to order one?
huh?
Do you want me to order one?
As long as it says saloon on it.
Get the new doors.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, where would you put it?
On the gable, this gable?
You can get Sam to paint it on there, town hall.
And then you can put it, once we get a new one, maybe we can put an arrow on it pointing that way.
Exactly.
Or
Or just put ye old in
Right,
front of it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, old town hall, I like that, let's go that, yeah, let's.
Vicky would be into painting that. Or
Okay.
She wants to paint that.
Okay, yeah, why not do that before we,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah,
old
good idea.
town hall though, when the other one gets,
I like the sign.
If this one doesn't get demoed during the
Yeah.
new bridge.
Yeah, I think a little up and color there.
Former
Yeah,
site.
Yeah, right, right.
Help me, we can't find the town hall. Oh, I should have thought to put something out there. But, so don't order another one.
No, we'll paint that and then see if we can get it up and
okay.
see if that doesn't
We
solve
call
it.
them Miss Sam,
That is
she's
she.
very good, yeah.
Good idea.
And
One
speaking
other-
of the sign,
Yeah.
the artist did come by here and show the,
Oh, yeah.
what he's got done.
Yeah, that's
And
nice.
I showed him that sign and he's gonna try to put it on the painting,
Oh, cool.
on the corner like that. He took a picture of the lettering.
I was gonna say just one other thing about the old town hall real quick, cause I came and met with Morgan and with Clark a couple of times whenever we were looking at, what needed to be done, the work that needed to be done. One of the things that both, Morgan and I talked about was gutters on here, like the gutters are like falling down and like the drains aren't, the downspouts aren't routed properly, so it's like dumping in the back, and I think that maybe they had fixed some of that issue around the corner.
They just put some tile running from there
Yeah,
around down. and stuff there. It's not
Right.
the most elegant solution, but
yeah, yeah.
presumably it'll
It
work.
could be buried.
Yeah, right. So, also, I talked to a gutter company just because the fact that we have the gutters are kind of falling down and they need new downspouts and stuff like that. They gave me a quote just over the phone, $525 to take down the old gutters, put up new gutters. But I don't know if that's something we want to do now or, later, but that may help with the moisture issues, like coming into the basement. And that's what Morgan had suggested as well, but I don't know if we need to get more than one quote. That's the only company that I know of, so, you know, they did come out here and look at it and give us a quote. And I'd asked, I guess I'd failed to ask them to give us something written in paper or to come by and, you know, do that, but, yeah.
Who is this company?
The company is called Campbell Gutter. They've been in the area for 30 years or something like that, and whenever we have our contract work that I do, we contact them, and so they've done our work for
So
quite a while.
you said they came by and looked at the
Mhm,
building?
they came by and looked at the building.
150 to take it down and then put up new ones,
Mhm,
total?
mhm, yeah.
That doesn't sound like a whole lot.
What'd you say?
I said, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of it.
No, what price did you give?
It was
$550?
$550, yeah, $525, I think,
$525,
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
okay.
$525, yeah.
The 550, no, that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah,
Yeah. You wanna go
Well-
forward with that?
Why don't we go ahead and do that, and that might help the basement situation
sure.
too, because the one out here, I've put back together several times, and then the guy who was working downstairs screwed it back together so it would stay, but it needs to be all the way out into the ditch,
Yeah.
so that the water runs all the way out instead of down and back into the basement.
Yeah, Paul, if you want to, go ahead and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Let
and I'll
them
try
know
to,
that, so.
and I'll try to make sure that I'm here the day that they come to kind of, you know, make sure we get an idea of where we want the downspouts, making sure that they're going away from the back of this building,
Right.
which, you know, they've done enough to know that
Oh,
sort
I'm
of
sure,
thing,
yeah, they
but
don't-
it's always nice to have something.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we need
Sure.
a motion for that?
I don't think so, that's, no.
Okay, I'll just put all agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think- unless it's over, in my mind, around 1,000 or more, I'd like to get everybody's official,
Okay.
everybody on record.
Speaking about these windows, they did discuss putting, like, wherever these windows are measured this way,
Mhm.
maybe installing a vent, an air vent at the top of the window
Mhm.
to help with ventilation.
Or is that built into the,
No,
well,
no, more than we're talking about it. We needed a vent, and then they, just put it in the windows, but rather than knocking a hole someplace, so, no, it wasn't discussed.
No.
Why don't we just then check and see how much it would cost with that? And what kind of vent, can you close them, open them, you know, is it
okay.
whatever?
All right, any other new business that didn't appear on the agenda for whatever reason? I don't actually have anything this month, the mayor's update. Before we go, I will remind you one more time, please do look at, once you get the email, look at these things, go through them, preferably in detail, but at least scan those 5, make, you know, have a working knowledge of what's what when we meet back in a couple of weeks. And I think that'll cut a lot of time off of,
Is the email going to send out?
no, I'll do that
So
too,
is
tonight or
this-
tomorrow.
So is that gonna include all of the proposal?
It'll be the 5,
documents?
oh, well, I'll send it,
Yeah,
it's
right.
all, the email has them all.
Okay.
But remember, we're only doing those top 5, so, you know, you can look at the others, obviously, but no need to study them if we're not gonna ask them to
And I
submit their
forgot, did you
info.
tell us when you do like our annual paperwork?
Yeah,
Yeah,
finance
I sent
stuff.
you the personal financial disclosure
Yes.
link, and Violet, I put in hers also.
Okay.
So
I
we
saw
have to
that.
do that again?
That's due in June?
Every year.
Yeah. Soon as
I don't-
Trent
you don't
puts
have
his
to
in,
do
I'll
it.
do.
Right, that's what we should say, as soon as he gets his in.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I feel the same way, you know. Why
All right,
should we have
if
to
nobody
do
has anything else, then
I make a motion to
Ooh,
adjourn the meeting.
we do have a motion to adjourn. We do have a second. All in favor?
All right.
it?
It's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.